Welcome to the podcast from HeadHunters Northwest. HeadHunters Northwest. Specialized recruiting, specialized approach, where we take you behind the scenes into our customers' businesses. For over 20 years, HeadHunters Northwest has served the global defense, small arms, and shooting sectors worldwide. Listen in as we discuss the inner workings of our USA and international customers. HeadHunters Northwest, finding you the best heads for business.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another HeadHunters Northwest podcast. This is pretty special. We haven't done a podcast for quite a while with another great nonprofit. So I think this is going to be pretty fun, pretty special. Not to mention I have two dynamic knockout ladies who are of their own accord successful. So this is kind of fun. But even if you're not into nonprofits, don't hang up because this is going to be really cool. We are doing this to bring awareness to Oregon Hunters Association, but also because we're excited to announce that we're recruiting on a newly created position for the organization. The really hard work of all the members and all the directors and the board members and Amy, who's the lobbyist, the policy director, I think is the right term. This has netted the organization the need for an executive director. So we're going to talk about that open position at the end of the podcast. But for now, I want to welcome Cindy Rooney, who is the vice president of Oregon Hunters Association on their board, and also Amy Patrick, who is the policy director. And they're both located in Oregon. And welcome, ladies, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, maybe we could start with, I'll leave this to either one of you. We didn't really prep for this. Who wants to tell our viewers about what Oregon Hunters Association is? I mean, I could do it, but I'm not qualified like you guys.
I'll let Cindy. Cindy's the vice president, so I'll let her start.
Okay, all right.
Cindy, Oregon Hunters Association is an Oregon nonprofit based around hunting and conservation for Oregon wildlife. We are approximately 14,000 members strong, 26 chapters around the state, and we are active all across the state in different conservation projects. We're active at the Capitol with Amy being there. We do tons of different things across the state. It's important to do the conservation work to improve and enjoy our hunting heritage and to ensure that. So that's what Oregon Hunters Association really is.
Yeah, and it's made up of a lot of members and 26 chapters. So it doesn't matter where you live, there's a chapter close to you. Mm-hmm. And it's not limited to only people in Oregon. This could be people who hunt in Oregon. It could be people who visit. It could be people who believe in conservation. I mean, Oregon is one of the most beautiful states in our country. It really is. It's stunning. And it's very diverse, right? It's high desert and it's got all kinds of different areas. But Amy, maybe you could kind of tell us a little bit about the legislative part of what you do, because OHA has almost 3 arms. Is that right, Cindy? The conservation, the legislative, and I forgot the other one.
But hunting?
The hunting. That's too obvious. See, it's too obvious. So maybe, Amy, you could fill us in on the legislative part. And because people don't probably realize, or if they do, it's really always changing. It's never the same for you, I'll bet.
That's very true. And OHA is pretty unique in that up until this last legislative session that we had here in Oregon, we're the only organization that has prioritized having a full-time lobbyist on staff. And so generally, it's just been me in the Capitol. There's other organizations that maybe have some folks that come in every once in a while to do testimony, but having a full-time person in the building really makes a difference in what you're able to track and what you're able to get involved in. I'd like to say that I think we've pushed OHA into some conversations that maybe we haven't been involved in the past, really trying to make sure that the folks in Salem understand what conservation really means and how that includes hunters and anglers and what that looks like. And that has been a little bit of a challenge at times. I think there's a misnomer particularly in urban settings, about what conservation is and what groups are part of conservation. So there's a lot of education that goes on with legislators around that. But so OHE has been in a very unique position to really lay some heavy groundwork as far as the legislative piece. It does change frequently. Oregon is a blue state. Our legislature is at a Democrat majority. And so that makes it interesting to work within and try to prioritize funding and just the attention that natural resources and conservation tend to need from our general fund budget and just in general when we're trying to put forward new concepts for wildlife.
Yeah, that's a big job you took on, and it's needed. It's really important. You know, our political action committees, our policy folks like yourself, lobbyists, you know, I think they tend to get a bad name, and I don't think it needs to be that way. They're super important because it's really about education, and those bills and all that information, by the time you hear about it, it's already down the line.
Yeah.
So I'm sure having someone there on the ground is really important.
Well, and as an example, and we just came out of our most recent long session in June, and in the course of that session, there were 4,000 bills drafted. And so when you think about legislators and the amount of concepts that are thrown at them, they don't have time to really understand or research everything that comes at them. And so that's really where it pays to have somebody in the building where you can say, hey, this bill maybe is a bad idea, and this is why. This is the second and third order of what might happen here. Or this bill we actually think is a really good idea, and this is why. And it's just that educational piece of helping legislators to grasp that many concepts, you know, over that such a short period of time.
Yeah. And the members they're really important in this. And I'm sure it's hard to continue that education for your members as well. So, you know, if that's something you're interested in, it's kind of unusual that, like you said, to have a hunting organization that also you really participate as a member and be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting process in your state, certainly valuable. Well, Cindy, there's a lot more to OHA than legislative. Can you talk a little bit about the conservation? And I do want to touch on somewhere in here I want to know what your members get out of this. It's so cool because you can bring your families to this. There's even women of OHA. Could you maybe touch on that a little bit?
Well, I can talk about conservation first. So we have, like I said, 26 chapters around the state. All of those chapters are ran by volunteers. Matter of fact, all of our board are volunteers.
Wow.
And everybody that's involved in this organization does different conservation projects around the state. I wish I would have spoke to Tyler, who is our conservation director, just before this, but I think last year we logged, 26 projects?
I think so.
Wow.
I think it was the same amount. I remember it being like the same amount of chapters as we do projects. So we did 26 chapters. We did 26 projects around the state. They did everything from planting new foliage in burned areas, which Oregon has a lot of burned area right now. They did building fences around different locations, meadows, so that we could open those during winter range seasons and close them to keep the cattle out during the summers. They did projects all over the state. We also do projects where chapters go out and they man gates for private landowners, allowing hunters to access those different lands during hunting season. So they open the gates at daylight, they close the gates at dusk, and during that time, you're allowed to access the property to hunt, where otherwise we wouldn't have the ability. So there's projects all around the state, something for anybody who's interested in that kind of work to get involved in. I personally have friends that are not hunters, that's what they like to do is come to OHA and they like to go do those conservation projects. So you don't have to be a hunter in order to go out and do a conservation workshop. Women of OHA is a great program. Thanks to Amy, a few years ago when she was hired, 7 or 8, I guess it's not a few years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago now, or maybe even longer. Amy was hired. The very first thing that she did was come down and meet with me in Roseburg, and her and I sat down and talked, and our dream was to start the Women of OHA. And what this is it's a special and safe place for women of every different level of hunting skill and ability, and even those that are not currently hunters that are just interested in being outdoors to come and be in a safe place to talk about things that we don't necessarily want to talk with all our husbands and guy friends that we hunt or fish with. And to also have a place where we can talk about those things that are really women centered. And so we started this program, and there's 225 members, I think is what I see last time currently on that. That includes people that are not members of OHA that have signed up for different projects or just through our newsletter that eventually come over and become a Oregon Hunters Association member. We have a yearly event. This year we're having another one where we'll have approximately 32 women out in the field on a checker hunt. We do this will be our second year of this event. It's a great opportunity, but we normally try to coincide it with a conservation project. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to get the conservation project portion in. But there's just a little bit of something for everybody. There's also the Learn to Hunt program that we have for adult onset hunters that want to learn. And that's something through Oregon Hunters Association at our DFW that we're active.
Wow, that's amazing. Ladies, I did not know that you two were the founders of that. So congrats. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, when I lived in Oregon, I would have loved that. And I love that you can go and do things outdoors. You don't have to be a hunter. You don't even need to own a gun.
Yep.
You don't have to worry. Like the chucker hunt makes me think, oh, my shoulder. I'm so afraid of shooting my shotgun. But that's not how it is. You could go and just visit. Like what does it mean? Or all those questions about being outdoors that you think, oh, I don't want to ask this. What a great environment. And it would be so great to have mothers and daughters to something like that. What a great opportunity to bond.
We really saw a lot of cool interaction between our more experienced hunters and our new hunters. So in our inaugural year last year, the conservation project and checker hunt, we had some ladies who are super accomplished hunters. And we had several ladies who had never picked up a shotgun before. And the bonds that we saw form over the course of the 3 days, a lot of those gals have gotten together now on their own after the event and gone out and done other hunts together and just come along with me while I go scout or come along with me while we do this, getting them into the woods in a way that is really comfortable. And that was one of the goals, is we really wanted to give women that dual space to learn and mentor. And we've just seen it grow. It's only been operational for about a year and a half. And so We've seen so much growth in it.
What a great way to get outdoors and be comfortable.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really, really special. Wow, that's cool. Well, see, now I told you I didn't need a list. I knew we would go through these. I have this list of questions, everyone, in front of me that I may not get to half of them. Well, because I knew we'd get off on a subject, and I had no idea you guys were so involved with that. That's really, really special. Let's talk a little bit about what you think the challenges and opportunities are if you don't mind. Maybe we could talk a little bit about what the biggest threat facing Oregon's hunting heritage is now, and what do you think OHA is doing? Or maybe we could talk about just what do you think that the hot topics are? I think there's several, and that's why I'm kind of hesitating. I'm like, I know we can't cover them all, but I know, Amy, there were some legislative things that happened, but maybe if you guys just have some thoughts. I don't know what the biggest challenges are, but it's pretty amazing. You have 26 chapters and you've grown so much. So you're doing something right to overcome these challenges.
I think that one of the challenges we see is the changing demographic in our hunters and in that hunting community. And so, we've always been very invested in youth and bringing the youth along. Every chapter does a lot of youth day events and things like that. Now adding the women of OHA and the Learn to Hunt pieces, which are aimed at slightly different demographics, really working to try to do what we can to help smooth that cliff that they talk about with our age demographic and bring more people into the fold. One of those things too, I think that is important is, again, going back to that piece around conservation and what hunting means for conservation. That's a really unique place to start with people from a more urban setting who maybe didn't grow up. I didn't grow up hunting. And so I can relate to that background of not having that generational understanding. And so that conservation piece and the sustainability piece really allow us to have some of those better conversations in there. So I think that piece, the changing demographic in Oregon, I do think we face some political challenges that will have a ripple effect on our hunting community, whether that is, some far-reaching gun control bills. We've seen a lot of those come through the legislature that would have the potential to impact our hunting community, not all of them, but some of them. And so that's something that we watch very closely as well. And then I think the other one for me is just our changing landscape as habitat changes and how that affects our wildlife. And then what do we need to be doing as conservationists to recognize that and offset what we can. So for me, I think those are kind of the top three things that we're faced with.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Cindy?
Amy and I think a lot alike. So she actually touched on everything that I was going to say, which is kind of funny because you could tell we work a lot together. So, but the other thing is OHA itself has a lot of struggles as far as not struggles. We need to improve on our abilities for outreach. And I see that we are doing that with Women of OHA. I see that we're doing that with Learn to Hunt. But bringing those, I hate to say younger members, but young, the 30, 20-somethings, even the 40-something members into the fold and bring their families into the fold, because OHA is a great family-oriented program. There's a lot of things for us to do as far as a family is concerned. That's one of the challenges that OHA itself has, and we're working on that through, like I said, through different programs. But overall, as the state, like we said, we have legislative problems. We have struggles with conservation as the landscape changes, and especially with all the fires that we've had, like over the last 5 years, there's just a ton of conservation work to be done. And OHA, 14,000 members, cannot cover all the acreage in Oregon. And also just our ability to get more hunters involved with the organization and itself. So those are some of the things that Amy touched on, but I just want to cover a little bit further.
Yeah. It's amazing though how it's grown, and OHA is actually pretty progressive in a lot of areas. The website is very good. I know you're always looking to improve it, but that's any website. But you recently have launched an app as well. And that's a new feature. And that's quite a big step to take. Your 26 chapters, they're all going the same direction, and they're doing their own fundraisers in their own areas. And that money goes to those areas. So they have a lot of say in where that spend is in those 26 chapters in their area. So I mean, it is pretty amazing. You could easily bring a family to these banquets, and it's very family friendly. And you've got people that you have things in common with right when you start. I mean, you're right in the door. You have things in common. You're wondering how you're going to find your like tribe. This is a great way to do it. And the money stays in Oregon. This is whatever fundraising is done, this isn't shipped off to another state. This is right there in Oregon.
That is probably one of the most unique things, I think, about OHA, because we're Oregon-centric and all of that fundraising stays here. We really focus on what we can get our hands around. And that keeps us, I think, it keeps us centered on what's important. It keeps us centered on our mission statement, and it keeps us centered on our chapters and their local level pieces there. So it makes us unique, and I think it makes us very nimble also, especially when it comes to the legislative work and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's very special, very unique. It is. Not everyone has this in their state, and very few have this power behind them. You can actually see things happening, and you guys are good about posting that on your website, what you've accomplished. Well, let's talk a little bit about this executive director role. I'm excited, of course. This is a pretty big deal. This is a really united board that I have the opportunity to work with. I'm thrilled to work with the hiring committee. So it's only part of the board, right, Cindy?
Yeah. Yeah.
But everyone is united. And I think people don't realize how unusual that is. It's very unusual from my perspective, to have a group that's all going the same direction. It doesn't mean every day everyone agrees or that there aren't things that we work through, but from my exposure so far, it's been pretty impressive. So do you want to talk a little bit, Cindy, about what we're looking for, the key points?
Well, first of all, let's back up a little bit. Dwayne, the reason we're doing this is because our current state coordinator, Dwayne, has been with us for 30 years. And the poor guy, he's decided that he wants to cut back. We're not letting him go, but he wants to cut back. So we're allowing him to do that. Now, as part of that, we started talking about, as a board, we started talking about where is OHA going and what do we need? And the executive director position was the first thing that came as part of the discussion. So we're looking for somebody who is interested in running a nonprofit. And is interested in hunting and conservation and all the things that we stand for. The job itself is going to be, I'm not going to lie, the job description is a lot. However, you have lots of help. You have great staff. We have a wonderful staff. We have a small staff, but they are a wonderful staff, one of which is Amy. We have just a lot of opportunity here for somebody to come in and grow this organization. And that's what we're looking for. Is somebody who'd come in and help us grow this organization. Everybody wants to see us get past that 14,000 strong and bring the chapters in, not into the fold, but to bring everybody into more of a communicative situation. Because having chapters around the state, communication is difficult. We got 26 chapters, or they range from all corners and all areas of the state. And so having an executive director to help with that will be wonderful as well.
Yeah. Bless Dwayne. He's the one to thank for all of the marketing. He's just in a little bit of everything, and he's been great to work with. So thankfully he's going to be around to help this transition. So you're not losing that knowledge and that experience. And your staff, they're very experienced. Like Amy, if Amy's the new person, she's been there several years, right?
Yep.
So these are grown-ups that know how to do their own job, that don't need to be micromanaged. We're really looking for someone to help take this organization to the next level for the benefit of the members and benefit conservation and the things that are important to the members. So I'm excited. It is a big job description, but it's really our 3-year plan. Here's where we want to go. Here's what we'd like to do. So we don't expect someone to walk in and have all of that, but this is where we want to go. And I think it's a really great opportunity. It's so fun, and it's going to be a lot of work for sure. But, this is a really great job because it's only the state of Oregon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other positions like this that you have to travel all of the United States. This is actually, you could live a normal life and do this.
Well, and I also think this is a great opportunity for somebody who wants to come in and grow with an organization, because this is a great time to do that. You're not coming into a huge organization that's nationwide, that's hundreds of thousands of members strong. Coming in, even though we're not a new organization, we're still growing. We're still trying to advance. We're still trying to get our footing into the new landscape of all this wonderful technology that we have available to us now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity for somebody to grow within that position. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to come into an established, like you said, established staff. So you're not coming in and having to create necessarily new space, but you're coming in with a support staff that is very invested in seeing this position be successful, because we are all OHA members and we want to see it grow, and we realize that we're kind of on the cusp of something great here, and we just need this right person to help us get there.
Yeah. Good point, Amy. Yeah. I think you guys, you guys know what you're looking for, and I think we'll find them. I'm so excited. I know it's taken us a little bit to get this podcast off the ground, but we have a lot of people who listen to this and watch this on YouTube. I think it's a great way to talk about this wonderful organization and for people to get a feel for who these people are that work there. Because you guys are right there. I mean, I don't know how many video calls have we had already, Cindy? And, these people are working, every day. Even the volunteer board members are, I don't know how they do it. You've got nobody has any extra time, and yet they find it.
I gotta say, Cindy's one of the hardest working people I know. She is always there and always makes time, and I don't know how she does it.
Well, thanks, Amy, but I feel the same about you. You can tell I keep trying to move because there's things behind me. All my work's behind me back there. So.
Well, I think that the good news about that is if if I think about it from the executive director's position coming into a position, I would want to know that I have people who are enthusiastic and committed to the success of this, because no one does anything alone. And I think, this is one of the things I wanted to highlight on this podcast. And you guys, of course, exemplify that. So it's a good role.
Well, I just want to say too, we have a wonderful staff. I've said that before, but you also have a board that is a working board. I mean, everybody's involved in different committees. Everybody's involved at a different level. Everybody's busy. So you're not coming in to people that don't do anything. And some of us, myself included, we're not only on the state board, but we serve on our local boards too. And we're involved with all the local events. So you have a very active staff and you have a very active board too. And our staff volunteers at different chapters for different events and does all sorts of things around the state as well. So yeah, these people believe in our mission.
It's not uncommon to hear the phrase "ride for the brand" amongst the staff. That is the overriding, I think, thought process amongst all of us is we ride for the brand.
That's really important to anyone who's going to come into this role, is to have that kind of support, because again, it's not common. This is not always the case, but this is a real actual working board and a real actual working staff. So there's help. So as we kind of wrap this up, I wondered if we might get to one of my questions, I guess. No, we covered a couple of them. If someone who's listening is really interested and they are inspired and they want to get involved with OHA, what's the first step they should take? What do you think?
Well, they can get on the website and contact one of the state board members or one of their local chapters and take it from there. Or contact Michelle down at her state office and she'll give you all sorts of instructions on who to call. Now, it's pretty simple, really. But my number's on the website. Amy's number's on the website. So you can always call us, email us. We're easy to contact.
Yeah, it's a great membership and this is not something that has to break the bank here. This is not, you're not going to have to sit here and pony up $10,000 to join the club. That's not the kind of thing we're talking about. We're talking about something that is very affordable and you get way more back from it by just even going to the banquets. What a yearly great event, or whatever gathering your local chapter has. It's just that's going to feed your soul. That's the kind of stuff that life is actually supposed to be about, not necessarily your 9 to 5 every day.
The local chapters have membership meetings every month where they invite speakers, and they have, most of the time it's at a restaurant somewhere, so they eat together and they have goals at some of these meetings. So there's always something to do.
That's great. That's really great. Well, I really appreciate you two being willing to do this and be on the podcast. Thank you so much. You're excellent guests. Be careful. You might be invited back. I really appreciate it. And I'm honored to be able to talk about Oregon Hunters Association, because I really do believe it's just an outstanding mission, clearly outstanding people. And I'm looking forward to meeting your new executive director when you guys decide who you're going to hire. So if you're listening to this and you're interested, go to the OregonHunters.org and you can find the information there, or you can find it you can reach out to HeadHunters Northwest or anyone at Oregon Hunters. They can direct you. So thank you very much for being on the podcast. And until next time, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the HeadHunters Northwest podcast. Specialized recruiting, specialized approach. You can reach out at headhuntersnw.com or call 605-600-1709. Join us again next week as we look behind the curtain into the global defense, small arms, and shooting sectors. HeadHunters Northwest. finding you the best heads for business.